All right, welcome in. I'm the Kodiak Broncos Podcast, and today I'm here to talk about why I'm really not the biggest fan of the Broncos draft haul, at least at this point. But before we get into it, I just want to say a couple things. First of all, leave a like if you enjoy, subscribe if you're not already. You always wait until the end. Hopefully, I'll have earned it. And yeah, we have no time to waste, so let's talk about this because I just want to get this out there as soon as possible. So, um, I know that I bleed orange and blue, but I really, really, really came away in this draft. How can I put this? There's an adjective I use a lot, and I think I'm going to use it here. Flaccid, in a sense. And listen, I'm not saying that this draft can't age well and won't age well because we still need to see the on-field results, and ultimately a lot of this goes out the window once games begin in September. But from an on-paper perspective, I'm pretty disappointed with what we came away with. I'm not really wowed by any selection that we had. After watching some RJ Harvey, I am. But our punter also has a sick mustache. But there was nothing where I was just like, oh my goodness, he makes us so much better instantly, at least. And the only pick that really didn't leave me scratching my head was Savion Jones in the late third. And listen, prospects are not a guarantee. Like, prospects are not a guarantee. Like, there's risk with every single player that comes out of the draft. There's risk in every single player in professional sports. That's how professional sports works. That being said, I trust Sean Payton. I trust George Paton. They've done a great job building their vision for the Denver Broncos the past 2 years, especially with what they've had to work with. But titles are not won in April either. So um, we'll just get through this. We'll get through this. And yeah, here's the first reason why I do not like the Broncos draft. We did not add enough at running back or tight end. Like, this was supposed to be a class that was rich in running back and tight end talent, and we left with only one for both positions, and we didn't even use capital on the tight end position until the 7th round when we took a basketball player. Like, what? And this was also our first draft since 2021 with all rounds 1 through 4 picks, and it felt like we didn't capitalize. It felt like we did not make the most out of our picks and our positioning in the draft as well. We traded back 10 rounds on RJ Harvey just to move up in the third, or we traded back 10 picks in the second round to select RJ Harvey. Whatever. That's what you should do when a guy is your guy in the second round and you know that he's going to, still be there, or you may as well get some value. But, but, I just didn't like moving up in the third to, do what we did and take Pat Bryant. I didn't like, um, I thought the 4th round, it was just kind of like, whatever. I mean, I like trading up for Savion Jones, but edge in the 4th, I was like, eh. But also, back to this discussion, we are one injury away from having the exact same rooms that we had last year, okay? I do not want to have to talk myself into Adam Troutman and Nate Adkins or Lucas Kroll once again, but, but honestly, that's what we might have to do considering we did not add enough at the tight end position, okay? Evan Ingram, yes, he's an exciting player. I'm glad that we signed him, but he's 30 years old and he is not the answer long term for the Denver Broncos. And we still really can't run 2 tight end sets. Like, I hate to say it, but you're still throwing Adam Troutman out there to whatever, be an option in that game as well, in that regard as well. And he only had like 100 some yards last year, so you're not getting anything dynamic from him. But the running back room, I mean, how often did we hear this past year? Oh my God, the Broncos need to add running back. A lot of people were saying that we should have come out of this draft with 2 running backs. And you know what? A lot of people were saying, well, it was a pretty, shallow draft class. And first of all, I disagree with that for 2 reasons. First of all, it may have been a shallow draft class because we didn't have like that blue chip cracked quarterback, wide receiver, cornerback talent that's been pushing talent down the boards, the past 3-4 years, ever since these wide receivers have become, just insane. And it feels like every year there's an insane wide receiver prospect. There was none of that this year. But second, that's not what everybody was saying about the running back position. Everybody was saying, oh man, this class is so deep. Like, it's sort of like a pick your flavor sort of thing. And, I just wish we brought in more guys to compete with this room because what they showed last year was completely unacceptable. And, we deactivated Estimate for a playoff game. We, had Bidet or whatever who fractured his spine and literally couldn't be on the field for multiple months at a time. Jaleel McLaughlin, once again, he was a part of the problem last year. So I don't get it. I don't get it, man. And we're one injury away to Ingram and Harvey to running it back with our rooms from last year now. knock on wood. I hope you guys can hear that. I really do not like the fact that I'm saying that, but it's just the reality. It's just the reality of analyzing this draft as well. And Ingram and Harvey are not the only answers to fixing the bad parts about our offense from last year. Okay, I still didn't like the fact that we had very inconsistent over the middle passing game, and I guess taking Bryant will help that. Having Ingram will definitely help that, and Harvey will help that as well because defenses will actually have to respect the fact that we have a speedy weapon out of the backfield and B, a dynamic runner. But either way, they're not the only answers to fixing the bad parts about our offense from last year. And also, RJ Harvey is not a 3-down back. Like, he is a change of pace back. He's a high-end change of pace back, even if he does get the bulk of the work in the backfield. But this team will be disappointed if they make him a bell cow. And I mean, second-round capital on a running back indicates that it is going to be his backfield. But still, once again, the guys behind him, I don't trust them. I don't trust Estime. I don't trust Jaleel. I don't trust Bidet. So, yeah, make that of what you will. I don't trust Watson either. I think this past year we would have seen him more. He couldn't get on the field with the worst running back room in the league ahead of him. So, I liked what he showed in the Chargers game, but then he got concussed. So, we'll see. But, yeah, not a fan. Too heavy on the defensive depth. So getting defensive depth is not bad, but it is bad when it's at the expense of offensive depth. Okay, this is our first draft in years with a franchise quarterback, and also once again our first draft in years with actual capital with all rounds 1 through 4. First draft since 2021. Why? Why do you go edge in round 4 over a skill guy, especially when you took one last year? Okay, unless you're not confident in extending Nick Benito, which you should have traded him if that was the case during this year's draft, why would you go edge? Why would you go 5 deep at edge? And why would you not try to bolster the areas of your team that actually need bolstering? Okay, I'm not concerned about our edge depth. I'm more than confident in Ellis or Tillman's ability to get after the quarterback if Benito or Cooper need to come off the field on a third down or something like that. And you can never have enough pass rushers, but edge didn't make sense there. Didn't make sense there either. Barron, he will be a beast. I'm not going to talk about this any further since the fan base is already split on it, but I would have easily taken Atlanta's trade down haul they had with the Rams. I mean, maybe after seeing what happened with the rest of the class, maybe it's good we didn't, but overall, yeah, I just didn't get it, man. A lot of the picks, I was just like, felt like we could have got them later. Like, once again, too heavy on defensive depth. Like, our wide receiver room was not great last year, and we still only added one body to that. Our running back room sucked last year. We still only added one body. Our tight end room, we only added a basketball player. So, yeah, we also had very shallow rosters in 2022 to 2024. Like, last year, we were definitely better roster-wise than anybody could have imagined. But we still had our clear holes. We still had holes at linebacker, safety, tight end, or whatever due to a lack of draft resources. And the depth, I mean, adding defensive depth makes sense, but just not the areas that I would have done it. Honestly, I'm happy with the Savion Jones pick, but that's the only one where I didn't have an element of head scratching that came with it. So the picks that felt like reaches, my least favorite picks throughout this whole draft. So Pat Bryant. Pat Bryant's projected draft round from the NFL mock database was the 6th round. And once again, these teams hear different intel. These teams hear, they know different things than we do. They actually get the chance to talk to them. So, I didn't get the chance to interview Pat Bryant at the Senior Bowl where apparently he killed it. But once again, when the NFL universe is universally being like, yeah, they probably could have waited around, it feels like you probably could have waited around. Like, once again, these teams are more plugged in than we are, but I really didn't see a lot in Pat Bryant's game that anyone would have, kicked the tires on in the 3rd round or something like that. And also Quandarius Robinson, projected draft round from the NFL mock database, 6th round as well. And Nick Saban called him the best special teams player that he ever coached. So having an edge with ridiculous pass rushing upside. Like, I'm not even going to say ridiculous. It's just a small sample, and maybe he would have gone further had he not, had such a small sample as a prospect. But once again, I don't get it, man. I don't know why we took either of those guys when we did. I didn't like the fact that we took either of those guys. I didn't like the fact that we traded back so substantially, and then it felt like every trade down we had, I was like, what, all that for that? Yeah. Also, besides a punter, like, listen, I get that we needed to draft a punter, but when there's actual talent on the board, like, I would have rather had Fedoni, I would have rather had Cody Lindenberg, I would have rather had Damian Martinez, Brashard Smith, LaQuint Allen, Ricky White, Kyle Monungai. I think all those guys potentially had a chance to salvage this draft for the Broncos, even if they were 7th-round picks. But once again, this was a deep draft, so you never know. This was a deep draft at the running back and, skill positions in general. Not as much at wide receiver, but oh well. Even Restrepo or whatever his name is. I know that he clapped back at some people on Twitter, and he's probably not the best dude. But when he's free, who cares? Who cares? I would have liked to have seen us, sign those guys and be, or draft those guys. But also the 7th-rounder, a basketball player who's been playing tight end for a year. What? Like, he has 53 yards, and you took him over. I don't even want to talk about it. I just don't like it. I don't like it whatsoever. Like, who else? What other team was literally considering him at that spot where you got him? It's just like, I don't know, man. Once again, these teams have different intel than we do, but it felt like the Broncos it felt like A, they didn't like a lot of the guys in the later rounds, but B, it also felt like they didn't really scout the later rounds, which I know that would be very unlike this regime to do, especially because of how much late round scouting we've had to do over the past few years because we've traded away all our high picks. But yeah, sorry, that was from my Jade Barron video. But number 4, our UDFA haul was also disappointing. I can forgive the lack of running back and tight end investment if you're aggressive in the UDFA pool, but I felt like they weren't aggressive enough, at least to justify passing on the amount of running backs they did and the amount of tight ends they did. Clay Webb, why? Just why? Like, if you guys are not familiar with this guy, this is gonna get a little NSFW, but there was an incident where he had ejaculated into a cup of Powerade and forced somebody to drink it. And he was actually a really, really highly regarded recruit. I'm pretty sure he committed to Georgia instantly and then had to transfer because of that. I think he got kicked off the team because of that. And this feels like the anti-Broncos UDFA signing. Like, I like the fact that he's a dog and ballsy, pun intended. But once again, for such a tight-knit locker room, I mean, if he makes the 53-man roster, I'll be shocked. I'll be very shocked, especially because, we've been a team that's pointed and laughed at the Chiefs every time they have a guy arrested. And now we drafted a dude who literally jacks off into Powerade. So, yeah, here are some guys who I would have really liked them to have signed. I would really, really would have liked them to have signed Land Larison, Will Shepard, Xavier Restrepo, as I already talked about, Rocket Sanders, Donovan Edwards. And once again, these guys were all passed on 253 times or whatever it was for a reason. I actually didn't even look that up. I think that's the amount of picks in this draft. But when you have a 90-man roster, who cares? Who cares? Just kick the tires. You never know what you may find out about a dude, through training camp, through OTAs or something like that. Once again, this UDFA haul was very disappointing. And if we trade for legit running back and tight end talent, I will be much happier with this draft. But I wasn't a big fan. I'm not a big fan right now. It feels a little, once again, that's the only adjective I can use to describe how I feel. Flaccid. That's how I feel after looking at this extensively for the past 3-4 months. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see, because championships, they're not won in April. And, we won't be able to judge this until probably a year or two down the road. And then, put our final draft grades in probably 4 or 5 years down the road. But yeah, ultimately, that's just how I feel. This felt like a Belichick Patriots 2022 draft. Like, I hate to be negative on this channel because everything about the Broncos is overwhelmingly positive right now, but I did not like our draft haul. I hope I'm proven wrong, but yeah. So that does it for me. Let me know what you guys thought in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.